honestly, it's amazing. Natsuki Hanae was making fun of Qiana, saying that song, when it gets to the chorus, it is a shower song. So when I look at this franchise with a bit more attention, I notice that out of the 4 groups, 3 of them are part of my all-time favorite 2D groups list, which is crazy. Welcome to Monthly Review, the monthly feature in which I talk about the best CDs released in a given month. In this case, we are going to cover October and November 2024 releases because I didn't have the time to cover those in time, and it is the end of the year, so I need to wrap it up fast. So welcome to this episode. This is going to be a shorter one because there won't be music in the horizon as a corner, and I feel that there isn't anyone asking anything in Ask Vanessa, but I will have to check later. So let's dive into the best of October. When it comes to the best release of October, it is Growth with Shin, Qiana, and Tabidachi no Asakaze. Well, this one goes without saying. This is one of the biggest releases of the year, at least for fans of the Tsukipro franchise, and especially if you are a fan of Growth. This is the best release of October, but let me tell you, October wasn't necessarily a fantastic month in terms of the quality of the music, because I enjoyed this one, but it was not a perfect release for me. Same thing with Quell, same thing with NSFW, with Yay. So these 3 releases that I wanted to cover in depth if I had an October-only episode actually weren't particularly amazing or perfect, but they were really good at doing what they wanted to do. So Shin, Qiana, and Tabidachi no Asakaze is a really solid release. I'm not the fondest about the new take on Qiana, and that is because the chorus is completely different in terms of vibe. For me, I know that we are creating a reinvention. This is a reimagination of the original song, which had a really poor sound quality, and in terms of the instruments, you could feel that some instruments were not necessarily played live, they were samples, and right now we have a really robust, really interesting song. So props to that, because the song really sounds amazing. The tempo is completely different, it's a bit faster than the original, it's less electronica focused, but the strings are not necessarily there as much as in the original, which is a big difference for me. And when it comes to the vocals, I feel that when it comes to the chorus is iconic, and I still remember during a Tsukipro 2016 event with Solids and Growth, I feel that was Solids and Growth, Natsuki Hanae was making fun of Qiana, saying that song, when it gets to the chorus, it is a shower song. And I'm going to show a little bit of that point in which he actually mimics taking a shower and singing Qiana.
いやしかしね、グロースの曲はやっぱりあれだよね、口ずさみたくなるメロディーだよね。
本当に叩きなに始まり。
だってシャワー中とかよく口ずさんじゃんもん。絶対
嘘ですよ。ちゃんとね。ちゃんと
本当あるでしょ。
これ本当。本当に？
口ずさみたくなるメロディーなんだ。
なる。そんな
別にシャワー中そんなノリノリじゃない。
そんなアクティブなシャワーある？
そんなノリノリで
シャンプーとかもこれララタタライヤすごい勢いよくて絶対洗えてないでしょそれ。
When it comes to the reinvention of that chorus, the chorus doesn't sound anything like that. Sounds less epic, sounds less mystical, I feel, in sound. And one of the things that actually moved me with Qiana was how fantastical the song is. I love fantasy as a genre for books and games, for example. And what I felt listening to the original was really that sense of epicness. But when I get to this reimagination, I get the sense of going on a journey, which is slightly different from the concept of an epic fantasy adventure. Going on a Journey is a bit different. It's still the same undertone, but not necessarily the same take. So I feel that the focus shifted a little bit for this reinvention of the song. Other than that, I love the song a whole lot. I feel that the percussion gives that feeling yet again of riding a horse in the prairie. You will understand immediately what I'm saying when you listen to the song. And because we have the castanets and the tambourine in a sort of way played by the drums, and they give that rhythmic trotting sound that you get, that feels really as you are riding a horse in the prairie. So that's that. Of course, we have as well Tabidachi no Asakaze. I've said this is one of the best songs of the year, and I've reviewed it on the review Advent Calendar series. So this was a song that I first reviewed in that specific feature, and now I'm bringing to this one that should have been dropped a couple of months earlier. So yeah, I'm not going to dive too much into that song because you already know my impressions. I will leave the link either here or in the description, so do check it if you can, because those are my first ever impressions about that song. Right now I'm not talking about first impressions because I already know the song by heart, but I do love what basically what Johnson created in this song. It is quieter, more acoustic. I feel that it is a song that really caters to the vocals and puts those on the spotlight. It is a song that looks to the past, the present, and basically has an eye into the future. And I love that this comes full circle for growth, seeing as the Anokoro CD series is all about revisiting their past selves and looking into the future. And in this case, the groups are doing that, revisiting an old song of theirs and looking into the future. And I feel that this is really, really awesome. So this is the highlight of October, and now we are going to dive into the highlight of November. The highlight of November is, and let me check because I have my notes, it is IDOLiSH7's leading tone. Because, well...
Feel so bad 明確な理由すれ違う僕たちの時間 Be so bad すべてスローモーション長く退屈な PM 物語のようなエンサー君は二人だけの安定さはフリックなんかじゃない不自然さすら漂う魅力的なラブそれでも not enough Tell me why
You have just listened to Crazy Love. This was another song that I got to review for the very first time in the Review Advent Calendar series. This was one of the very first songs that I reviewed in this series chronologically. And honestly, it's amazing. This CD is the third full-length album by IDOLiSH7, and I feel that they upgraded a lot their sound since Opus, which I found to be an amazing album when it dropped. And right now I feel that leading tone is even better, because the group has improved a whole lot. There is something about IDOLiSH7 right now that is mostly focused on the maturity of the group, and that maturity is being shown in how mature the sound can sound. And when I say mature, I'm not saying risque or flirty or sexy. Although they have those undertones right now, for example in Crazy Love, it's not necessarily a feature, it's more an undertone for you to understand that they are growing up, they are maturing as a group, they are maturing as people, and that it is normal for them to bring those influences into their music. But what we have, especially when it comes to growing and showing that growth that the group has went through, you have the fact that everyone is singing at their best. If you are going to compare their performances, for example, in Crazy Love, and going back in time to restart Pointer, you will see the difference. This group is singing amazingly right now. They were doing really good back then when they debuted, but the growth and the difference in quality is staggering when you compare both. Really, IDOLiSH7 has improved a whole lot, and right now they have a sound that I love 2 beats because they have a loungy, groovy, the bass line really leads the way, groovy sound that fits really well with the vocals in this group. The 7 members are amazing. I feel that right now we are having more opportunities for everyone to shine, either with high notes, with harmonies, with everything else going on in the background. I feel that everyone is actually sounding at their best, and IDOLiSH7 never sounded this good before, I feel. If I was going to recommend people to start getting into IDOLiSH7's music, and I don't want to actually go back in time too much, I would say come to Leading Tone. It's a good entry point because the group is sounding at their best, but actually if you want to go back and revisit their music, may not be the best idea, because then you are thinking that they are getting progressively worse if you are visiting the CDs chronologically but backwards. So I would say, if you want to just check their music and see them and at their full potential, Leading Tone is the CD for you. If you actually want one of the most cohesive CDs by IDOLiSH7, Opus is your CD. But actually, if you want to get into IDOLiSH7, revisit their music since the start. They have 3 full-length albums, and they have an amazing journey so far. I like seeing groups grow, and not only seeing, but listening to groups growing. So their music hasn't remained static over time. And this is something that I value a whole lot. I said this countless times before, both with IDOLiSH7 and with other 2D groups and 2D franchises. I like when I actually get to accompany a group since they start and I see them growing alongside me. This is something that I value a whole lot because it feels like you are part of a journey. Even if it is a fictional group, you are feeling that you are part of a journey. You are following this journey with the seiyuu. They are getting older alongside you. They are maturing with the characters. The characters are maturing. The franchise is perfecting their sound, perfecting their concept, perfecting their offer, and we are getting a lot of quality. And right now I feel that IDOLiSH7 is at its best. And if you haven't checked their music, either because you don't want to get into the franchise, because you feel there is a lot of music to get into, or either because you don't check franchises that are rival to the favorite franchises that you have, I would say check them out, because the music has a lot of quality. Put those things aside, put any bias aside, and come check the music, because it is really worth your time, especially if you love pop music, and especially if you love pop music with a little bit of a disco vibe going on in there, because they now have a really punchy bassline-led sound that is incredibly mature. They have a really loungy undertone that I love a whole lot, that once again highlights that maturity, and they also have the vocals to back it up. So right now they are sounding at their best, and when I look back at the music released in November, there is only one CD that actually stood out to me by far. It is IDOLiSH7's Leading Tone. So yeah, this is all from me in this section about the best CD in October and the best CD in November. So now let's dive into the next section. When it comes to your picks, I was checking here my list of things that were dropping in October and in November, and we have a comment by Ao. And Ao says, in the November episode, at the time of writing, we still have to wait for them to drop, but Sowara's unit entry for Ano Koru no Boku wa series, aka remade Asakaze again, and Ano Hi no Melodia. Normally, out of the 4 units in the SQ and the live, Sowara is the one I have the least excitement for, which is not to say I don't like them. I just might have less favorite songs from them compared to the other 3 units. That's the nice part of Tsuki Pro though, how the various genres fit various people's tastes. And okay, sorry for the digression. But the previews for new Anasaku and Ano Hi no Melodia left me gathering my jaw from the floor. It might once more become a set of songs I need to be in a specific mood to listen to. That was the case for the original Hanasaku, but I originally didn't expect them to be so much up my alley, while still playing out the theme of looking on your past self to a T. I'm really excited for it. Well, I haven't checked Sowara's release so far, because I didn't have the time to do so, but I will be checking. Just like you, Sowara is the group in the Tsuki Pro franchise that I have the least favorite songs from. I enjoy more the solo tracks than I enjoy the group tracks or the band tracks. mostly because I love Soshi. So my favorite songs usually come from Soshi, voiced by Makoto Furukawa. So when it comes to Sawara, I like their music, but I don't follow their music or as passionately as I do Solids or Growth or Quell, especially because Solids and Growth are two of my all-time favorite groups. Quell as well. It's a really... This franchise, when I look at this franchise with a bit more attention, I noticed that out of the 4 groups, 3 of them are part of my all-time favorite 2D groups list, which is crazy. It's crazy how much this project impacted me, and it's crazy how high quality and how it is targeting me, because the music that they create is really the music that I like. But yeah, I'm basically going on a tangent here. You were talking about the recently released CD by Sawara. I haven't checked it, but seeing what has been done with Growth in terms of the reinvention of the songs, I'm quite interested to see what they can do to Sawara, because their music is usually upbeat, really intense, energetic, and especially the songs in question. We are talking about songs that have a really upbeat tempo. They are really with that youthful rock vibe from high school. So I'm quite interested to see how the group now, or the band, now that they are sounding really mature in their approach to their original sound, they will give their take, basically how will they take on that specific song or those specific songs and do something different. So I'm quite excited about this. I want to see what they actually pull off. I will be checking the songs in a couple of days, so I look forward to that. And I hope that the excitement was actually met when you listen to the CD, because I feel that Sawara deserves more love, but Sawara usually has a sound that is catering to a very specific type of fan. So I can understand your thing here about Sawara not being the group that you enjoy the most in Tsukipro. But once again, I love all groups in the Tsukipro franchise. This is one of my all-time favorite franchises, so I can understand your take in here, and I can understand as well why you said that you actually love them a whole lot, but just the music is not clicking fully as other groups click with you. So thank you very much, Ao, for participating, and it's time to go to the monthly choice corner, and oh boy, this is going to be a big one. Welcome to Monthly Choice, and oh boy, I'm quite excited about this one. I bring you 4 songs. Some of those I may have never shared here, so I'm going to share those for the very first time. And right now, the first one is NSFW's featuring Alice. This was a recently released song. I didn't enjoy the CD Yeah 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 as much as I wanted. Featuring Alice is a really fun song. And there are a couple of things that are basically being done really well when it comes to this CD. I have a couple of notes here, so let me go through those notes, because when you listen to this CD, you will notice that the chaotic, unpredictable sound that NSFW has, usually really electronica driven, is nowhere to be found, basically. This is a massive difference in comparison with the previous releases by NSFW. We all know how crazy the music usually is, but this time around it is normal. And I'm saying this as someone that loves NSFW's music, but this time around the music sounds normal. It sounds like any other member of the Dear Vocalist franchise would create. Usually the music is really different in terms of vibe between vocalists, but what was created here for NSFW is something that Veronica could have done, that Lumiere could have done, and Jet Red Fury could have done, and even Brave Child. The only band that basically couldn't have done these because the sound doesn't sound the same is Kagaribi, I feel. So what we have, especially with Yeah Yeah Yeah, is a song that is more punk rock, pop rock driven. It is quite aggressive, but the electronic is barely there. There are remnants in the background that will give you an idea that things have changed, but the essence of the character is still there, the essence being the electronica. But everything else changed a whole lot. When it comes to featuring Alice, the song that you have listened to a preview of right now, this is an amazing song. And once again, there is electronica, but it is not necessarily a full-on focus. It is not in your face. It is there, but rock is there as well. So this time around, we don't have a full-fledged only electronica song. Either crazy in tempo or really slow in tempo. It is a bit it has been something that has changed a whole lot in NSFW's music, and especially with IDOLiSH growing and overcoming his issues and healing. Basically, you notice that his sound is sounding more grounded, more consistent, more cohesive, and that chaos that you had in his music may have been a reflection of his psyche, and I feel that alongside with a more calmer approach on the vocal end by Ryohei Kimura as IDOLiSH, you basically get a really interesting song, softer, more cohesive and more enjoyable, I should say, for people, for example, trying to get into his music, because the sound is not as unpredictable and crazy as it was. It is more contained and more cohesive as a whole. I feel that this massive difference when it comes to the sound by NSFW, and especially the emotions that IDOLiSH brings to his music, is really, really important when it comes to the storytelling and with growth within the story. Once again, that thing that I was talking about, liking to see 2D groups or 2D bands growing alongside fans, this is what I feel with Dear Vocalist, especially because it is a franchise more focused on storytelling than anyone or any other 2D music franchise out there. So you can get that character development and basically the growth and the maturity that the characters have now, and their overcoming of the problems that they initially had when you come to this song. And you see that growth, and you see that IDOLiSH is healing, and is healing a lot and really well, because his music is actually sounding calmer, more contained, more grounded, still fun, still crazy, but much more grounded in comparison. So featuring Alice would be my first suggestion. Then my second suggestion is Senna Ichijou with Turning Point.
この世に溢れ出すありきたりなルールそんなもの興味ない参考の価値だけを掴んでみせるよ吸い甘い蹴散らして誰のため生きたく何のため生きたく守るべきものだけこの胸に抱えたい本当は分かってる焦燥なんて真実じゃない求めた先それが暗闇だって終わりはしないこれでいけるから Turning Point Everybody know that I will grow forever Don't look away Everybody know that I will never give up Everybody know that I will stand up my time Don't look away I can look perfect kind of Ichijou in my world Everybody know that I will grow forever Don't look away
Some of you may be thinking, but what did I just listen to? Others may be thinking, oh, finally you talked about this. Others may be thinking, but Vanessa, haven't you talked about this before? I think that I never brought this song to an episode of Monthly Review, but correct me if I'm wrong. We have already many episodes, so I cannot keep track of that. But I have written about it plenty of times before. And I've talked plenty about the Perfection Noise franchise, which is on a hiatus or has ended. We don't know. Fans don't know because they never updated anyone about the status of the franchise. They simply released the OST CD, wrap it up with instrumental songs to everyone, including the OST songs that were featured in the drama CDs, and they just went radio silent. So I will assume the project is no more, because I have radio silence. There aren't any updates whatsoever in that project. So, but when it comes to the quality on the vocal end, of course it is Soma Saito, so you already know why I brought this song here, and why I left the songs for so long, because that chorus is performed in English. Although the lyrics are incorrect in some places in terms of the grammar, his pronunciation is amazing. I love when he's told to perform the katakana or the English lyrics with an English pronunciation instead of a Japanese pronunciation of the English, which makes a massive difference, and he has talked plenty about it on his radio show as well as on Dameraji. He has explained that that there is a difference between having the direction of singing the lyrics and having a direction of singing the lyrics with English intonation or accent. And what he brought in here is a performance with an English accent and pronunciation or intonation of the words. So what we have here is one of the clearest performances in English by a Japanese seiyuu, or a Japanese voice actor, let's say. I like this a whole lot. I'm a sucker for when seiyuu actually perform English really well with clarity. There are some examples. For example, Beautiful Doll by Mamoru Miyano is an example of clarity on the vocal end. A couple of songs performed by Wataru Komada in the Hanadol franchise have clarity. Daiki Hamano has an amazing clarity with these solo songs in the Hanadol franchise. There are a couple of moments in which we have really good English. For example, Tetsuya Kakihara has a really good English as well as a really good German, but he is German to begin with. So yeah, I like to find these. Also, Shunichi Toki also performs really well in English. He is a bit of a hit or miss depending on the songs, but he usually delivers really good English and clear English for you to understand. So I like to see these. This is an added bonus because you don't have to necessarily perform English perfectly, because their public, to begin with, is the Japanese people, not necessarily foreigners or international fans like us, basically. So this is an added bonus. So whenever a seiyuu performs in English and they actually perform English with a really good pronunciation, it really tickles my fancy, really. And right now I remembered also Shunsuke Takeuchi, because his pronunciation in English is amazing, second to none. So yeah, there are a couple of male seiyuu artists and male seiyuu performing for 2D groups that actually have a really awesome English pronunciation, and I love to basically listen to them perform in English. And Turning Point has a really strong, powerful, imposing pop, or should I say EDM driven chorus in which Soma Saito is performing in English. There are a couple of mistakes when it comes to the lyrics writing, but well, we cannot do or cannot have everything perfect, right? So his pronunciation is amazing, even if there are some mistakes in terms of how the lyrics were written in English. But this is a really good performance. Aside from that part of me geeking about the English pronunciation of male seiyuu, because I love that a whole lot, we have the quality on the vocal end, and we have a really strong performance by Soma Saito when it comes to delivering a really intense but really, I should say, elegant and seductive performance, because Senna is really all about that, or at least he was all about that persona that was actually the visual in the group and one of the best dancers. So that was something really created a la K-pop, and he actually had that role, and his music actually showed that fairly easy. So I remember listening to a preview of this song, and at that time I actually listened to the preview of the song, and I felt I need to actually review this and I need to tell people about it, because this is one of the best performances by Soma Saito for 2D groups. People will never know about the Perfection Noise, no matter how much I talk about the franchise itself. So let's try to bring it to the spotlight on the website when I review the CD, then when the OST CD was released as well, and now here on Monthly Review. So I hope that you actually find this song interesting and actually look for it. It is Senna Ichijou's Turning Point. This is a song from the Perfection Noise franchise. Next, we have, and let me check my notes, Apple Polisher with What Have You Done For?
Tell me what you have done for me. 今何してるの塗り直したネイル乾かしながら誰思うの Close my eyes なってるように How you be the host さ僕を縛りつける I can never forget you もう一人じゃ How do I feel 僕と話せない日は寂しくなる会えなくても I'm working so hard 君思いながら
Now, this is an old one. Dynamic Chord franchise. Anyone remembers that? Beyond the fact that the anime series was awful and the mobile game was even worse, because that franchise actually got burnt itself almost to the ground because of those two things. But yeah, I love that franchise. I was kidding, but I loved the franchise a whole lot. And this was actually, I should say, one of my very first introductions to a franchise that was focused equally on story and music. And the story was a romance, including basically the music itself going on in there. And I really loved Apple Polisher's game. At the time, it was a PSP or PS Vita game, as well as a visual novel to play on the PC. I played the game on PC, and I really enjoyed it a whole lot. This is a franchise that I love in terms of the storytelling, although there are some romances that are trigger warning, for example, in some groups. Thankfully, in Apple Polisher, there aren't many triggers or any, so that's a plus. And I feel that this game, alongside that this game was actually one of the ones that sounded the most mature in terms of vibe, because most of the members are over 20 years old, so they have a much more adult take on the game, and the story was more relatable, I should say, because you are actually a singer and Apple Polisher are actually a band, so you actually come across while doing your thing professionally, more so than being in college or being a manager or anything in between. So this was a game that I enjoyed a whole lot, and I'm already going on a tangent again, but I needed to bring this here because the Dynamic Chord franchise is going to re-release the games. The games are going to get a port in some way to the Switch. There is already confirmation for Ref Parfait's game, and I'm waiting for the other ones because I really want Apple Polishers again. I don't mind paying for that game because that game is really long as hell. There's a lot of story going on in there. The music is amazing. Apple Polisher have this awesome mix of lounge with R&B and electronica, so their rock sound has all these elements, and it works so well with Shotawa's voice because he has that angelic voice that I love a whole lot. If you noticed in the lyrics have a lot of English going on in there. It is another thing that I like a whole lot. Shotawa actually cranked up his pronunciation for this game and is pronouncing the English really, I should say, fairly well, given that the character that he's voicing now is or has lived in an English-speaking country. So this is really something that I love a whole lot, and this song is one of the most amazing bass lines you can find into the music, especially for a rock band. I don't recall how many times I have listened to this song since it was released, but I feel that it is around 600 times and counting, because every time I want to relax a little bit, I bring Apple Polisher's music to the spotlight. That's non-negotiable for me. I love their music. It is one of my favorite 2D rock bands, even if their sound is more alternative than anything else in the Dynamic Chord franchise. So yeah, this was another entry, and now let's go to the last one, which is Issa Kiduku with Blurry Sorrow.
つやめく唇なら You like a beast 闇とヘロス高いドライうつろな宣言ぜララ夢を見さけてく君の笑顔心が砕け散る音が鳴り響いてく
Now, you may have noticed that there is a massive shift in tone between Apple Polisher and now Issa. We are back talking about Vez rock music. I'm going back in time to talk about Vez rock music because I haven't reviewed most of the recent CDs, but I will. And I'm talking about Issa Kiduku's Blurry Sorrow because this is one of the most intense bangers I've ever heard in 2D music, by far. It is a really, really violent, aggressive song. I love those raging guitars. I love those really loud, pounding drums. This is a song that actually made me want more music like this in the franchise. Although the rock genre is explored in a completely, I should say, liberating way within this franchise. They are not stuck to a specific genre or subgenre within rock music. But still, this was one of those brightest points for me as a massive fan of hard rock. This was it for me. This was really it for me. And I feel that many of you may not be that into the Vez rock franchise because you don't enjoy the pop rock sound that they have at times, maybe the pop sound that sometimes pops up, or even the dance sound that may pop up at times. But there are these types of songs going on in there as well. So we have a wide variety of rock subgenres, and I should say even pop subgenres, because pop and rock are in some way connected. And we have to notice that the Vez rock franchise is not necessarily about rock. It has rock, but the rock concept is about the rocks representing each character. So it's not necessarily rock music, it's more about the rock genre itself. So yeah, this is something that I really enjoy a whole lot. Issa Kiduku's Blurry Sorrow is a massive song. I love how explosive it sounds, and I love as well the fact that Masahiro Yamanaka sounds amazing. He has a really powerful baritone voice, by far. He can really, really quiet a room and make everyone focus on him with his poise, with his delivery. He has a really confident voice and an amazing, I should say, the clarity that he has and the charisma that he has really glue you to him. He's a really, really strong performer, and I feel that he doesn't get enough talk about his qualities as a singer, when he's actually one of the best singers in Vezi, and actually one of the best singers in the Vez rock franchise. So this was actually my rant about Masahiro Yamanaka. He doesn't get the love that I feel that he deserves, and he's actually a really awesome singer, and he has been delivering banger after banger in the Vez rock franchise. If you haven't checked the music, please do, because it is amazing. So this was all from me in the monthly choice corner. Let's see what you have to talk about in this corner as well. Oh, we seem to have 2 participations, so let's go over those. So we have ML in the October episode, and ML says, I just noticed that Yumerocast music is out on streaming, all 55 songs and without region lock. I didn't expect this after having to change my region to Japan to purchase the game, but oh well. which means it's the best time to recommend some songs. My favorite album is probably the Vocal Collection 3, A Chance to Make Progress. I'll try to be short because I need to mention 4 of the 8 songs. Never End Stories is my favorite song of the main group. It is a very beautiful pop rock, I believe, song, and the one that best showcases the chemistry of the 7 vocals. We get lots of combinations of 2, 3 and 4 members, as well as a good amount of solo parts, and the vocal panning makes it sound even better. Kamigami no Ikusa Utage, or Kamigami no Senen, I'm not sure how to romanize it. It is actually Kamigami no Ikusa Utage, at least it is how Lantis is translating the song. A song performed by Yu Hayashi's character. Slow-paced, wide soundscape, beautiful piano, beautiful vocals, and can we talk about the 2 acoustic guitar solos? It is a masterpiece. Sun Mirage, a solo song by Hyoto Saka's character, he nailed the style, which, as you can probably guess by the title, it's Arabic inspired. The instrumental is very rich, I think it's very well done for the style. My only other reference is Growth, so the stakes were high. Hitobito yo kanata e no michi yo. I think this one is hard to describe. Orchestral instruments, some rock too, but it sounds cheerful. Powerful vocals in the chorus that always make me sing along. And the best part is the long note at the end of each chorus, by Yu Hayashi, with Yuki Ono supporting him. And we also have Yuto Emura in the song, who gives a nice contrast. So, ML, you did something that I love, which is bringing Yumerocast back to the spotlight. I have not listened to that CD in specific, I have listened to some of the songs in that CD, and I believe I may have listened to all the songs in there within the game, but I don't recall the names of the songs, so I need to check those out again. Good to see that the CDs are all available on streaming platforms. Thank God Lantis did that, because it made sense. If we are going to release the game again, at least we are going to make sure that we are releasing the songs as well for people to actually listen to those after playing the game, or as they fall in love with the songs within the game. So it is really good to see that the CDs are all available finally on streaming platforms. I reviewed for the review advent calendar Kamigami no Ikusa Utage. This is a beautiful song. I love the traditional Japanese influences mixed with the rock sound of Yu Hayashi's character. And I feel that what they created there, it's a beautiful harmony of traditional and modern in the same place. And it keeps that beauty of Japanese legends in there. I love that song a whole lot. It is really slow-paced. The focus is all on the vocals. It feels almost like an opera style of performance, because the music is there only to create the setting. It's not supporting the vocals most of the time, which creates a really interesting contrast. I feel that at least for myself, I have attended a couple of Chinese opera plays when I lived in Asia, and usually the music was a support to the vocals, and the vibe that I got in Kamigami no Ikusa Utage is almost as if this song was modeled after Chinese opera style of performance. I feel at least that it sounds like that. And I love this a whole lot. It has a traditional Japanese sound, it has a really dramatic take, it is theatrical as a performance, but I've talked plenty about it in the review advent calendar, so I will basically link to the song somewhere in this video, so that you guys can actually watch my reaction to the song after such a long time without listening to it. But yeah, I may have listened to all of these songs, probably. I don't recall the names of all of the songs in the franchise, but for sure I will be diving into the CDs now that they are available on streaming platforms. So yeah, I only had the one by Genesis because they are my favorite group, but I will now dive finally in the Yumerocast CDs. And check the songs out, because most of my favorite songs are performed by Yu Hayashi, so I will be checking those because I remember loving those. I romanced his character in the game, so it goes without saying that I really loved the songs by Kaito Shindo. So that's something that I will be doing. And it is good news for you if you are watching this episode, that you can finally search for the music in the Yumero Cast franchise and look for Yumero Company or look for Genesis, and you will find in some way the music in this franchise. For sure someone will have already a playlist made for you to dive into all the songs, all the 55 songs in this franchise. And I hope you guys actually enjoy it. ML, I hope that you are enjoying this a whole lot and revisiting the songs again and again and again and bringing those good memories back, and really have fun with something that you love, that finally came back and that you finally can have access in full. Although you could purchase the full CDs, but now you can listen to those on the go whenever you want. Yeah. Thank you very much for participating, ML. And in the November episode, we have a comment by Ao. Ao says, since I don't remember whether I corrected my stance on growth units entry in the Anokuro series in October survey, I'd like to do it here and promote while I'm at it. Well, Ao, if there is one person that actually promotes Skipro really well, it is you, so you are welcome to take that job right now. New Rada Qiana is, in the words of a fellow growth stan, just the seiyus being smug about their ability to now tackle the 20-ish seconds long Rara Qiano parts in the chorus without losing their breaths, and I love it, and we love it. But the thing that blew me away was the second song. Man, Tabidachi no Asakaze is similar to Bewitch in that there's a somewhat unusual switch between first and second verses vibes, but that's just growth, moving the lever from position marked great song to a position labeled amazing song. Add dragons. I absolutely love the fact it's probably a nightmare to sing because of how many high notes, harmonies, overlaying melody lines, vocalizations, instrumentals, and everything else there is. Yet the musical landscape, instead of becoming cluttered and messy, paints the picture of a wide plain being soaked in the light, a la some very cinematic fantasy movie scene. Also, the final song by Koki is just a treat to any Tokishun stan and a very sweet message to fans of growth and Skipro series in general. One more quick mention, Anthos More, that didn't make it to my recommends the last time. Spectacle is a very good song, but as always, B-Track stole my heart. Roughing Laughing feels like a more peaceful mix of Place of Fate and Clap Clap Clap, if it makes sense. Also, since I love chaos, I love how the last verse got its final form, so that might cause my bias as well. Apparently, Issa changed up the final line to be a duet after hearing that Tokishun is on fire during the recording and deciding, heck, why not? Before adding Kaoru's harmonies as a last-minute change to the final verse. Well, that's a really nice, interesting tidbit of information. I was not aware that the composer actually listened to Shinichi Toki singing and felt, well, I need to add him in the last part of the song, the outro in this case, because he's on fire. I am quite impressed that actually it was not planned and ended up being part of the song. Roughing Laughing is an amazing song. I talked plenty about it before. I love that song. It is my favorite in More, and it is for me one of the best songs released in 2024. Clap 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 was amazing, but Roughing Laughing for me takes the cake. So it is really nice to see that composers are adapting in real time to the quality or the excitement of some seiyuu when they are performing. And in this case, Shinichi Toki got more lines because he actually was performing really well and he was on fire in that performance. Once again, the thing that I tell you is that whenever you listen to him singing, you notice how fired up, how excited, how passionate he is about it. If I was a composer working with him, I would love to have him in most of the songs, especially if it was a 2D group. I would want to have him on as much as possible. He wouldn't get very few lines with me, he would get a lot. So I can understand why Issa actually did that, and I love him for that. When it comes to your stance on the Nokoro, you didn't actually participate in the October episode, so this is your stance. I feel the same with you. It's mostly boasting what they are doing in that chorus. It is a really tricky chorus, and I remember them performing live, and most of them couldn't keep their breath for more than 2 repetitions of that part, which I'm telling you, one repetition would be around 4 seconds, maybe 8 seconds, and they were out of breath whenever they had to do it again. The only one actually managing to perform most of that part was Shunichi Toki at the time, but now, as you have listened to everyone, they are performing really well. One thing that actually plays in their favor this time around is that the vocals have been rearranged in a different way. So it is not legato, so you are not actually demanding them to perform everything in one breath, which was impossible. Now you have them performing in pizzicato, which is much easier for them to actually nail that part, and sounding much clearer, more confident, and with more breath when they arrive at the last part within that 20-second sort of lyrical riffing going on in there. So that's a big difference, I believe, that makes this song more, or at least easier for them to perform, is that initially that part was a legato, and now that part is a pizzicato on a vocal end. So it is much easier for them to perform that part right now. But still, it is them showcasing how much they have grown as performers, the seiyuu themselves. And I can't wait to see them performing this rearrangement live, because I'm curious how they actually will tackle that, and I want to see them actually smiling when they are performing that part instead of struggling to perform that part, which they initially did. So yeah. When it comes to, you were saying, Cookie's final song, yes, it is an amazing one. Also another one that people should check. I really enjoyed most of the songs that I reviewed so far. I haven't reviewed all. So far the songs that I've reviewed in the Nokoro series have been amazing. I want to wrap it up for me to actually close that chapter as well, as we are going to move on to a different series in the Tsuki Pro franchise. I hope that something is announced in 2025 in regards to that. But I want to close that chapter in a really neat way, and I can't wait to do so and actually dive into the other songs. I haven't reviewed, for example, any of the solo songs by the Quell members, so that's left for me to actually dive into. But yeah, thank you very much for participating now. As always, you bring amazing insights when it comes to the Tsuki Pro franchise and growth. So thank you very much for participating. And let's go to the next corner. This episode is sponsored by all the Hand That Feeds HQ's patrons on Patreon. A big thank you for the support. We are skipping the Music in the Horizon corner because it makes sense to skip it, because this episode arrives a couple of months later. But let me tell you that I actually read your comments on that section and they didn't go unnoticed. So thank you very much to everyone who participated in those corners, in that corner, in the month of October and the month of November. Now, let's dive into the Ask Vanessa corner, and we have one question. I was telling you when the episode started that I didn't know if we had questions, but we have one in the November episode, and it is by Ao. Ao says, okay, this one will be short and probably 1 month too early. Do you plan to have a 2024 in review episode of Seiyuu Lounge when you pick your albums, debuts, CDs of the year, and do we get a 2025's prediction episode? Maybe? Yes, I love that format, so that's a very selfish ask right here. Well, right now, either you already have experienced the best songs released in the year or the best albums of the year episode of the podcast, and you will be getting my 2025 predictions episode as well. We are going to get a couple of freestyle episodes of the podcast going on in there when it comes to the new year features and diving into the songs and debuts and everything else. We already talked about the debuts, and I regret not covering a couple of franchises that actually went under the radar for me, but I've already covered some of those things, and I will be covering the remaining things that I need to, which are the underrated songs or underrated albums. I don't recall which is the title of that episode. It's going to be the album of the year, the standout seiyuu of the year, or the seiyuu that impressed me the most in 2024. That feature always drop. Those features actually always drop, both on the website and on the YouTube channel, or on the podcast in this case. And of course, I'm going to do my predictions and check if I actually got anything right. So it will be interesting for me to actually listen to last year's episode, or early this year's episode, and dive into it and check if I actually got my predictions right. So you will be getting that episode, don't worry. I usually do this time of the year, the episodes that drop usually of the podcast in December and January, they are always the same format every single year. So you will have always the same order of episodes. So you will have the things that happened in the year, the debuts of the 2D groups or solo artists. Then you will have the best songs of the year, I think, or the best album of the year. Then you will have the underrated CDs or songs, I feel. And then you have my predictions, and then you have the Hand That Feeds HQ awards. Usually it's how I wrap up January every single year. So that's something that I don't change every year. And I want to keep it going on the podcast. So do not worry, it's not selfish of you. I really like to do these, and I really like to make those predictions. Some are completely unhinged, others are completely impossible. But I like to do those predictions and share my excitement about the music that is dropping or going to drop, or that I want to drop in a specific year. So yeah, you will get those episodes, don't worry. January will have those episodes, and you already have some of those episodes in December. So you are covered when it comes to that. So I hope you are enjoying the episodes of the podcast. And yeah, I feel it is all from me in this episode of Monthly Review. You will have a couple of live streams going on in 2025. I hope to make some of these monthly review episodes live stream, because I enjoyed doing a live stream in December that was more relaxed. It helps me a lot because it has no edition whatsoever, but at the same time, if there are mistakes, if the internet goes ballistic and doesn't work, or something really doesn't go my way, it gets in that recording instead of having a near perfect edited episode like you are going to have this one. I hope to bring that into the mix when I'm really filled with work. Maybe I will create a more laid back live streams type of episode instead of having to edit, because these episodes, it doesn't seem like it, but you are getting a 1 hour episode and I spent 9 hours editing it. So it's a lot of time that I spend for one episode. So if I can actually save some time, I will save some time if necessary. So you may have some of those episodes becoming live streams. As always, I ask you to participate when you feel like participating. Go ahead, spam me as many opinions as you have about the music that you love. I will check for... At least the rule is to check 3 people per corner. If there aren't many people, I will check the only ones that participate. And if there isn't anyone, I will actually cut the corners a bit shorter than usual. So that's the only thing that I will be doing. So yeah, this is all about this episode of Monthly Review, October and November 2024. Thank you very much for watching this episode and sticking around for the full year if you actually watched all episodes in this series. If you just found this channel and you actually enjoyed this content, there are many more episodes like this one in which I talk about music that I love that dropped in a specific month since 2020 or 2022. I don't recall for how long I have been doing this one. But yeah, you have a lot of episodes going on in here, and you also get the impressions by some of the awesome members of the community about the music that they love, which usually ends up being either Dear Vocalist, Yumerocast, or Tsuki Pro, but there are other franchises that we talk about. Do not worry, just because we are hanging out and talking mostly about those franchises doesn't mean that I won't be talking about other franchises. So come along, participate, share your love for the music that you actually love in the comments. And of course, thank you very much for sticking around in 2024, for watching this video, and I'll see you guys next year. So happy new year, and I'll see you guys soon.